So I am still in Switzerland, and I am at the top of a mountain. It's called Niederhorn, and it's at the top of a lake, the Interlaken here, or the lake Thun, I believe it's called. I took a boat and then took some pretty cool ventricular up, and then basically like a ski lift to the top. You can see it's a pretty cool view here. Anyway, I thought I would do a quick video while I'm up here with this beautiful scenery, and I actually got a couple of comments. I thought it was interesting. I did this this book review on what was the book now? How Not to Die, and I talked about how there was some propaganda in the book, kind of you know, some kind of vegan propaganda, even though some of it was accurate, but how basically misconstruing some of the data and information, and really this idea that I think a lot of people have that are supporting this kind of mindset, is that the ends justify the means. And I was a little bit shocked to see a couple of people comment on the video basically saying, yeah, I totally agree that the ends justify the means. And they were saying, oh, well, you know, if you're going to kill animals or be cruel to animals, then whatever means we can do to stop those ends, it's totally worth it, and it completely justifies it. And I was a little bit shocked to hear that, because that's kind of interesting ideology that I didn't think that too many people today had, but yeah, so it is, you know, kind of confirms what I said. Not to say that everyone thinks that way, but I want to do kind of a video talking about why that's not true, why the ends don't justify the means, and how kind of a ridiculous notion that is, because that's sort of the thing that I think, you know, I don't mean to go through history and you know, make the stupid the Nazi argument, but if you look at history, you look at a lot of fascist type of leaders and governments and oppression, it's always been like a lot of the worst parts of humanity have always said that, you know, the ends justify the means, or the means justify the ends. I got it backwards, but and that's horrible. It's ridiculous. If you live by that theory that the means justify the ends, you first of all, you don't know what that your ends are correct necessarily. I mean, there's been a lot of times where people have thought that the means justify the ends, and their ends, what they decided was the proper ends, was not in fact what was best for humanity or society at large, and was actually you could consider to be corrupt or evil looking back on it in time. So you don't always know that what you're standing for is right for the first, you know, first of all. And then, you know, second of all, the big problem with that viewpoint is that how you get to where you go really determines what happens when you get there. So what do I mean by this? So let's look at just a basic example in your life, and this is why I'm making this, you know, not to make a political statement, but really you have to think about this in your own life, how the ends justify the means, how that thinking is wrong. Because if you think about this, right, let's say that your end was to make a lot of money, or to have a lot of money, right? So the means in which you did that, right, there's a lot of different ways that you could accomplish that goal, and how you accomplished it would to a great part determine who you became in that process, which I would argue is overall more important. I think I've got some videos on that. I'm trying to think of what the topic was, but I know I did it in the $1 million one, what it's like to earn $1 million, but there's other videos certainly that I've talked about this concept of, you know, that it's the journey, right? It's the idea of, it's not what you accomplish, it's not the goals, it's who you become in the process of achieving those goals. So that's far more important anyway, to start off. And then, so if we look at that example, right, of let's say acquiring a large amount of wealth. I'm climbing up here. Always good to climb up things while you're distracted doing videos. So, and if you look at just that example, the problem is, let's say that you robbed a bank in order to, or you like stole, you know, whatever dishonest means in order to acquire that wealth. Sure, you would have acquired the wealth, and you could, if you then said, well, the means justify the ends, I got the money, I was able to, let's say that you're able to help an orphanage with it, or help people with that money, or donate it to charity. The process of doing that, of achieving the ends by those means, would violate the exact principles that those ends usually entail, right? If you say, a lot of people that commit heinous crimes say that the means justify the ends, and what they're they have some values to the ends, right? So anytime you say that you've got some end, it usually is based on some kind of value. So what is the value that you're attaching to that end? And so for the, you know, I think in the vegan case, I think it's a pretty admirable end and values, which is, you know, to conserve life, to not abuse life, to conserve the environment, you know, to be healthy, right? I think there's a lot of definite good values in the ends, but if by the means is a deception, right? Or if it's kind of theft, or if it's swindling, or if it's attacking people and, you know, harshly bashing them down because they don't hold your viewpoint, then you're going to sort of lose some of the values that you're espousing in your ends, right? I mean, what's the point of being humane to animals if you're inhumane to humans, right? I mean, you see what I'm saying is, and if you're inhumane to humans, of course you're going to be inhumane to animals. So you can't, you know, achieve the ends that you want if they have values attached to them by a corrupt way. It's almost like, I'm trying to think, every superhero story, right? If you've ever watched any, at least the old superheroes, right? They kind of ruined Superman with the latest movies and whatever. I don't even watch movies anymore. But there's always this conflict of the hero needs to save someone, or achieve something, or, you know, save some life, or whatever it is. But there's a shortcut way that he can get there, right? Where he can, like, just hold on to the One Ring for, just use the One Ring for a little bit, right? There, I'm switching metaphors, but we'll go into Tolkien, we'll go into The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And if I could just use the One Ring to bring about peace on Earth and get rid of it before it corrupts me, right? You know, that's the thing. It's like the whole, again, you know, you hear about the story of the genie, right? And the wishes, and what happens? How does the genie always twist the wishes, right? You get the 3 wishes from the magic lamp. You wish for something good, the genie brings something bad about. And so it's the same kind of concept. Like, you can't cheat it. And like I said, because part of it is because it corrupts who you become. If you take the shortcut to power, the shortcut to money, if you have this belief that the means justify the ends, then you're willing to take paths that will corrupt your own soul, which will bring you to that end, which will then be pointless at that point, right? I mean, there's no point in achieving, you know, if you're going to reach the end of the trail, you have to take carry the same value. You got to carry the backpack with you, right? If you ditch the backpack that has all your values, and you say, and your goal is to bring the backpack to the top of the trail, or, you know, to the top of the mountain, and you've left it behind, and you just get there yourself, you've kind of lost the value of it. And so that's what I'm saying here is, you know, again, I'm not trying to pick on anyone, not trying to pick on vegans in particular. Like I said, I think a lot of you have really good reasons and motives and values, but don't forget that the means, and this is not everyone, but just don't forget that the means do justify, or don't justify the ends, and that when you use that kind of logic, you're not only just, you know, in a philosophical viewpoint, right? I mean, let's look at the pragmatic, practical point in your own life. When you focus on when you have the concept, right? This is why I'm so against this concept, just from a pragmatic, practical viewpoint. And you guys know that I usually try to talk in pragmatic and practical sense. If in your own life you have that belief that the means justify the ends, then your focus is wrong, because your focus is on goals and on the end, and you're going to find disappointment in that. Your focus needs to be on who you become as you achieve your goals, your growth, right? It always has to be on growth. The things that are intangible and incorruptible, and the things that no one can take from you, is your personal growth, who you become. And so if you think that the means justify the ends, then you're not focused on who you become, because who you become is the means, right? And that's the thing. It's like that's the key thing here. Is it's like, yes, you could make the world paradise, okay? You could make the world heaven, right? I think this has probably been said in a biblical context, but you could live in heaven, and if you internally were hell, you would bring hell to heaven, right? And so for those of you that would like to change the world and think that, I know what you're saying, John, but still the means justify the ends. If we could just have nirvana, or have peace, or have this perfect community, all right? I mean, socialism and communism have tried to do this before, and then what means did they use to bring about that end? And even when they did bring about the end, because the people were so corrupt and evil by the process of bringing it about in that way, right? That it was spoiled. It was not able to be enjoyed, and it was soon destroyed. And if you want to destroy your own life, have ill-gotten gains, right? I've always said this, and I'll say it again, is that the way that you acquire something it will directly influence the way that you are able to enjoy and appreciate it. So if you get something by a corrupt means, if you gain wealth, if you gain power, if you gain whatever it is that you're after in your heart by the wrong means, that will directly influence your ability to enjoy it. Yes, it might be, if you got a bunch of money from robbing a bank, at first it might seem great and rewarding, but eventually that shit will catch up to you, and you won't be able to enjoy it as much as if you'd earned it. The things that you earn in life, right? I mean, this is the same thing that your dad used to say when you wanted to buy a bicycle as a kid, right? He said, if you pay the money yourself and you earn it, you'll value it more. It's true. And that's with any goal, with any attainment, with any achievement, because again, the value is not the thing. It's not the object. It's not the bike. It's not the world peace. It's the process that you go through, and perhaps society goes through, to become it, to achieve it. And that's what's important. So anytime you tell me that the means justify the ends, I'm going to say bullshit. The means don't never justify the ends, and that is the same argument that has been used historically to justify the most heinous acts in history. If you don't believe me, study history and see. And a lot of bad people had good intentions, and they are corrupted along the way. I think this is one thing too that's worth pointing out, is a lot of people say, oh, how could someone be so evil? Were they? Or did they have a really good value, a really good belief, right? Did they have really good values and a really good ends that was supported by values, but because they threw away the importance on the means, on how they got there, along the journey, somehow they lost themselves. Somehow they lost their values. Somehow they lost that backpack. They lost their soul. They became corrupted, and they became pure evil because they had justified those ends so much. All right, the dead horse icon. Maybe someone said they should make it a little dead horse thing whenever I'm beating the dead horse. I've beat the dead horse enough. All right, if you like this video, make sure you click that subscribe button below. Make sure you click the bell so you don't miss any of my videos here. I'm trying to keep a kind of a chill tone here because people are enjoying the view. I don't want to be all loud up on this mountaintop. So, all right, I'll talk to you next time. Take care.